All right, thank you so much for staying tuned. Now, Nigeria's banking stocks delivered a mixed equities performance in 2025, with the NGX banking index closing the year up 39.77%, logging the broader market's 51.19% gain recorded by the NGX all-share index. This is according to NGX year-end market data on listed banking equities. Investors' interest remains selective, rewarding banks with resilient balance sheets, improving earnings visibility, and clearer strategic execution. Now, out of 12 banking stocks listed on the exchange, only 5 outperformed the broader market benchmark. For Zenith, it closed 2025 at 61 naira 80 kobo from 45 naira 50 kobo, reinforcing its reputation for earnings consistency, liquidity, strength, and reliable dividends payout. July delivered its strongest rally at 34.33%. Let's take a deep dive into the performance of banks as we close the week on the show. My guest is Mr. Ambrose Omordian, is the CRO Invest Data Consulting Limited. Thank you so much. It's good to have you live in our studio. Thank you for coming through.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, I think I should allow you first take us through what you make of the performance generally of the financial institutions at this time.
Yeah, I would say in 2025, it was, for me, it was a good performance for all the banks, despite some, like you just said, selective movement. But generally, that is the year the banks, we also capitalizing and having the final date, 31st of June 2026. But if you take that 1 year gap or 1 year movement, the banks have done well. But don't forget that as we speak now, the earnings structure of the banks have changed. Banks have depend on foreign exchange valuation, which also ballooned their result in 2024. They pay dividend. But 2025 to this year, we are seeing that dying now because stability has come to our efforts. And what the good thing is that the banks that are smart are also forward-looking banks, or those that are proactive are knowing that it is time of volume. Volume is what will change the game now. It's not a time of depending on what. Yes, you have your interest rate going to play in your fixed income market, but volume in terms of what kind of free money is coming in terms of charges, fees, not only interest rate. That is showing that a bank is diversifying the source of earning. Because before now, we know that yes, banks use interest rate to make money, and who does everybody know is the exchange of. But now you have to go beyond that interest rate. What are you having a source of getting from? So how many fees are you collecting? Then what is the kind of volume you are doing in terms of transaction? You can look at some few banks in the second tier, the life of Sterling Bank, the life of Women Bank. Their alerts platform is also making money for them. The other one is called still one platform is also making money. That means now it is your digital your digital movement is what will determine how much you come for. But I believe that for the first tier banks, they are set to make more money in this year if also they can navigate the market with all that's happening. Now they are sitting on what I call it strong money. They have done 500 billion, some have surpassed it. That means it is time for banks to show their muscle that we can think outside the box. And I see that some first-tier banks will do that successfully. The life of Zenith Bank, life of GT, and also I see Stanbic also doing that. Even the life of UBA is also coming on board. I see that consistent banks like Zenith Bank for the past 26 years, that banks have grown their earnings on quarterly basis and yearly basis. That means a bank that is growing on quarterly and yearly basis tells you that that bank has a future for shareholders. They can easily create value for their shareholders and other stakeholders in that regard.
Specifically, we saw the news of Mr. Jimovia retiring from Zenith. Now, let's stay with Zenith for some time after 12 years. And also quickly appointing a new chairman, a person of Engineer Mustafa Bello. What about that? How does that also come to you, considering even the performance of the bank?
Any banks or any company, that is consistent will always create value for shareholder. You just say 12 years. Go back to the managing directors of Zenith Bank, starting from Jimovia to Godwin to Peter to what's his name? To Peter after Peter, who again? Is it Elias? I forgot his name. That is the one from Delta. Then the lady now.
Yes.
If a bank can have successful, asking for good 5 or 6 MDs, moving from the times of chairman, for me, it's just also easy way for them. Because Jim have overseen that bank for this while. Now, the person they are bringing is not from outside. He understands the game of the business because I've been part of the board all this while that Zenith Bank have been evolving, have been involving, transforming. That means he understands the game, and also not only that, he has experience to take this bank out of the bank to go to bring, because a bank is about bringing money. He understands how to promote the economy. He understands also how to run the business. For me, that also being an engineer, engineer, they are very, slow in movement, but they calculate everything because they know that in anything you are doing, you need to connect. That's why they are called engineers. For that, he knows how to link the bank to the right place. I believe that his taking over from Jim was also a smooth one, and it was a most successful one because he understands the game of the bank. Not that he's coming back to start knowing the culture of the bank. He already knows the culture of the bank. That means to move it forward is easier for him. And I believe that having the management around him, that is an easy work for the man also to create value for shareholder. And I believe that when you create value for shareholder, investor will continue to look your way because everybody is in the market to work to make money.
Indeed, I saw his profile, and I also saw that at the time he was executive secretary and CEO of the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. So that speaks a lot about who he is. Currently chairman of Invest in North Nigeria Limited, a special purpose vehicle for economic and social transformation of the northern Nigerian economy. So what more would you expect, considering the performance of the bank and he coming in? What are you looking at?
Like I said earlier, that a bank has been on a kind of an up territory from how many years? I said every quarter, every year, go and check the history of our market. It's only a few companies that you can identify with growing their earnings on a quarterly and a yearly basis. I said they've done it for 26 years in Zenith Bank. That bank has a lot of potential to create more wealth for investors. Also look at their reward style. When you reward your investors handsomely, you also pay on your price. And like you just asked, the experience of the new chairman, I said it's an engineer. Like, because he knows how to connect, he has worked with the board of Zenith Bank for how many years, for a long period of time. Now, also, like you said, chairman of Northern Promotion, Northern Investment, Northern Investment Forum. And at the same time, because he has worked also promoting investment, for me, it's become easier for him to stand anywhere in the world, even Nigeria, to connect. I say an engineer that knows how to connect things. For me, experience financially is there. Also, knowing that you need connection to move forward. That means to do that for Zenith Bank is easy. But don't forget that Zenith Bank will have a solid management team that will work with him. It's not working alone because it's a thing that comes together. For me, it's just an easy way for Zenith Bank. Also, check Nigeria banks that have also successfully have different chairman, how they have for Zenith Bank. I told you that in almost five MDs has worked there successfully, and they also make impact before they leave the bank. And it was not hard for them to hand over to the next bank. We are not going outside to this, but within them, they're also moving the MDs in Zenith Bank. That means also we are seeing already starting also in the board. For me, it's a very easy going that if Jim is leaving to Mr. Bello also moves to someone within because you must understand the terrain, also the culture of where you want to lead. Anywhere, you are both abroad, locally, when you understand the culture of a business or an organization, you can easily fit in and run it. Now that it's part of them, I don't have fear. It's coming to boost Zenith Bank performance and at the same time investors' confidence. The
bank came out of recapitalization also through with a steady reserve. I think about over 5 trillion naira, I guess. And it's a good performance talking about the recapitalization of the bank. But now I'm looking at plans moving forward. What do you expect now from our financial institutions after this recapitalization exercise across the board? Because I think in totality, the CBN came up with about 4.6 trillion naira in totality.
When I said the banks are sitting on hot money, they have to do a lot of business. Today, you can see that business banks are moving to UK, African countries. What are they doing? It's to tell them their footprint in those areas so that business can easily be connected. I believe that the kind of management they have in Zenith Bank, these are forward-looking managers that are not thinking of, they're thinking of tomorrow. I mean, they need to create value also to impact the price. I mean, as you are creating value, look at the reward system. 100% growth from 2024 to 2025. You paid 5 naira in the previous year, you are paying 10 naira. That alone shows that they have interest of their shareholder. And I believe that the life of GT Code, the life of Stanbic BTC, you can see their reward system, and Zenith Bank being consistent. Investors are thinking value. You also look that way. Even GTB is a stock to what, even that of assets, even though they are not paying dividend. Also simple, let's just do it like this. If you look at the number of looking at a bank that is either undervalue or overvalue, look at Zenith Bank, P ratio of 3.13 and book to value of 0.76. That stock is undervalued. In the investment, there's what we call rule of thumb. Don't want to go into analyzing using professional jargons. No, as a businessman, look at Zenith Bank, dividend payout, 10 naira. yes, easily you can say, oh, with that 10 naira they paid, times 20, oh, that will give you 200. That means the stock's undervalued. But because we're seeing that some banks are having strong earnings, we can't say want to use the tool on top of looking at their earnings and do what we call trailing earnings to give us a fair value. But looking at the dividend payment alone, can say that stock is undervalued. I believe that shareholders are thinking medium and long should look at the way of banking stock, because I tell you, after the whole capitalization now, that the banks are pushing it behind them, banks are going to make money for shareholders, because shareholders are giving them confidence by capitalizing those banks. It is not done on the banks to create value for those shareholders. And I believe that Zenith Bank and other banks, especially GT Code, also Stanbic IBTC, also will do that. The life of assets and UBA might also be coming at about, but I think also there's a value in those board. For any Nigerian investor, don't look away the banking stock anytime, any day, because banks remain the engine of any economy. And also, if you want to really grow your wealth, you need to have some banking stock in your portfolio. That means whether you target the leading ones or those that are also under second. But I believe that for you to have good value and good dividend, you must target the first-tier banks, which are the life of Zenith Bank, the life of GTCO, and others. But I believe that any investor in this country today, knowing that banks have raised this money, should put banking stock in their portfolio. Like I said, look the way they are going to work under fees. Now they are not depending on those interest rates again. All of them are looking at digital footprint. Let's have more channels to make money, because before, we're depending on, see that interest rate aside, yes, FS gain. No FS gain now, re-business and also re-banking. I see this bank with this money they're having, that they will create value for their shareholder. And also, they look out for business. Today, I'll tell you, there is money to learn to do that serious business. If a businessman that your business has good direction, go to the bank, they give you money. I
wanted to ask you that at this point where we're even seeing interest rates now start to come down, before the Middle East crisis came up, we're thinking that we're waiting for May NPC meeting, thinking that we'll continue that trajectory. But at the moment, we don't know if we'll hold rates or maybe we'll go back to...
No, likelihood is coming NPC meeting before we'll not start looking up.
That made me ask that, would we expect that the banks will lend more now to businesses, business owners, particularly? I know a bank will not just put money somewhere. It has to be a bankable, project and all of that, where they are sure of how they will get their monies back. Because issues of non-performing loans are not good news at all for their books.
Like you just said, if you look at also the last full year results for the general banks, the benchmark for non-performing is about 5% for CBN, but the bank generally was above that, about 7%. But I believe that banks that are below the 5% the CBN bank, that means that their risk management is touch not. And there's a few banks, like Zenith Bank was part of that, came below that 5%. I also see that because of what is happening, challenges we are seeing, insecurity and all that, banks will target those companies that they know that, I tell you, banks, they do their own permutation. They can't borrow whoever that after giving money, go and marry two wives. It's a company that has no potential, that this company can turn around, you have history, they can borrow money. But I believe that those will play careful so that they will not go into that area of non-performing loan. Don't forget that they made a lot of provision for 2025. None of them want to continue that start making provision. All the projects they made for 2025 will come as a profit this year. But I tell you that they won't go back, lending people that will not pay back. And also, they also play with the game of CBN. I think that CBN is becoming more tough to make that these banks are strong and healthy, and so the confidence of investors also will improve. For me, the banks will play with the rule of the game, so that at the end, no bank will be put one side or the other. But the banks that have consistently followed the games of the CBN or the rules of CBN can see that they are shining. Not that decide to go to the other side, the one that are getting it hot. But I believe that the more all those banks look at what CBN want and do that, we're going to see more confidence also will be there for investors. But for me, there's no cause for alarm for our banking stock, because with this capitalization, the banks are solid, and also most of them, their earnings will do better going to the future. Because I tell you, anytime, any day, because banks are the engine of any economy, that also support their earnings. And a lot of that, they are sitting on hot money. Most of them are also having, indirect what we call, universal license. Before, don't forget, during the time of Sanusi, when he stopped the universal license, remember that those banks were checking off earnings. Now that banks are going back to work, holding structure, indirectly the same universal license style. These banks will do well in this. With this, all they're sitting on more than 600 billion a bank. You are sitting on hot money to play around. And that means those businesses that are solid, that have good record, they will get more of loan from the banks. But those that know that they are not consistent, also they have their name in the book, that in credit book, that they are not regular in terms of paying. That also have, let's say, they have a good record, bad record of taking loan from banks. They are not paying back. Will be put behind. Yeah. And for that, those that are coming afresh also will make sure that as you are taking loan, but I believe that the banks will not play more give to the real sector. If, as we're discussing now, what is happening in the Middle East, we're going to see not only Nigeria, it's a global thing. Both the mature central banks will be slightly just be eating up their interest rates so that they can control inflation. Yeah. Nigeria will not be left behind. We might first this MPC meeting leave it unchanged. After that,
of course, we have to look.
But I believe that the more so the banks and interest rate is going up, the banks will benefit. The banks benefit. Once we start seeing interest rates up now, it's a plus for the banks.
It's really a good time to have shares with the banks.
Yeah, anybody that, because if we just see interest rates going up, it's an easy way to make money for the banks because Treasury is there. No other physical market.
How the percentage for Treasury bills, are they still doing pretty well?
Yeah, I think around there between 16 to 20%. That's a good one.
That's not bad.
And when we are giving to some individual that go and remarry and get more wives, so that we go and play in that is it.
No. We want our monies to be invested now, not to marry new wives. It's already an interesting conversation with you. And of course, we would like to always have you join us for market analysis, whichever way, virtually or live like this.
No problem.
It's an interesting one. Thank you so much. Mr. Ambrose Obodian is the CRO Invest Data Consulting Limited. He's been here helping us analyze the figures from the banks and all of that, the performance and what to expect moving forward. Do have a great weekend.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
it's good to have you.
Yeah.